Hey, welcome to Satterwhite Log Homes Live. I'm Randy Stringer, and our guest today is Dana King, who is a real estate agent, rural real estate agent, and also an oil and gas landman. And today we're going to talk about rural real estate. And why rural real estate is because if you're going to look for a piece of land to put a log home, it's not going to be in the city. Most likely, 99.9% of the time, it's going to be outside of the city limits. And we're also going to talk about how you're going to find your rural real estate, and the process, easements, and utilities. And really, what do you see when you look at a piece of land? Can you envision what a house would look like once you get that piece of land and where you're going to put your home? And again, we're going to talk about the age group of buyers. And Dana, what have you got for us?
Well, really, I guess when you first start looking for a piece of property, it's kind of hard if you've never bought land before to get out and do that yourself. People will go to Zillow and realtor.com. They get on Facebook to try to find property. But if you haven't bought it before, the best is to use a real estate agent and someone who does deal in rural land.
Yeah, you could burn up a lot of gas trying to find a piece of land, and even so, looking on Al Gore's amazing internet yourself, it's hard to find a piece of land. You do need an agent.
Well, and sometimes when you're out looking by yourself, you'll see something that's for sale, and it may have a sign in front of it, but it could have been under contract for 30 days and It's about to close. So you've wasted time getting out there, and having a realtor who does that helps a lot. It shaves off a lot. It saves days and saves money. Also, looking for rural land, you're going to want someone who does that. I'm also a member of the Realtors Land Institute, which is, we've got a website. So if you're looking for an area, you can zoom in. You'll be able to find me over here in Northeast Texas and a few other guys that's what they do, find raw land.
Okay, now what is, okay, you're going to find an agent, and what is the process you go through? Let's say, all right, we found this 10 acres, 30, 100 acres, whatever it may be. What is the process to actually walk the land and present an offer?
Well, in the beginning, if I'm representing you, first thing I'm going to do is start pulling aerial maps, and I'm going to start looking at contour lines. I'm going to start looking at floodplain to make sure you're not buying 15 acres and 10 of it's in a floodplain where you can't even build on. I'm going to start looking at access to see if you have county road, highway, see if you have an easement to your property, if you're landlocked or not. Utility lines. I'm going to try to find if there's pipelines that come across your place. You might just look at an aerial and say, hey, this has water on it. There's a pond. This looks like a good place to build a house. And when you get out there, you find out that there's a pipeline that BP's put in the ground that is 40 feet wide.
An easement of some sort that you have to be aware of, whether it's...
and you can't build a house there now.
Yeah.
So that kind of kills that dream right there of overlooking that pond.
Okay, now let's say you've got this, you found this property you want to look at, and you want to find some place to put your house. And that's one thing that's important too, is you really want to find your land first before you pick out your plan. Or the alternative to that is pick out your plan and then find the land that fits it. It's going to be harder that way, but find your land first.
Yeah, definitely. And if it's listed with a realtor, we can get access to that. A lot of people think that for sale sign means I can just drive out there and walk all across it.
Yeah.
That's not what it means. You're going to want to contact somebody to get access to that property, because you're still trespassing, even if there says for sale. So to set a time to go look at it, you need to use an agent who's helped build homes before, because if you get out there and all you see are trees, that may kill it right there for you. But if you're with someone who knows what they're doing, what they're talking about, they can see, okay, we'll take these trees out, and we've created views, and now we're on a high enough elevation, we're going to be looking over other trees, looking at ponds, looking at the neighbor's pasture who cuts 100 bales of hay every 3 months.
And that goes along with your easements and utilities too. You know, how you got to consider, you know, you find this piece of land that's on a rural road, you know, where's the water coming from? You know, where's the power coming from?
Right. And sometimes you may have one or two utility companies, like water companies, that one may stop here, one may pick it up from here. You're going to need to know which one will bring you water. And they don't do it for free. So you're going to have to get that water line, to get an estimate on how long to get that water extended to you. You're going to need to make sure you have right-of-ways from your neighbors. You don't want to buy 10 acres and then have to cross 2 neighbors, and one of them doesn't want a water line coming across this property. And you're going to have to look for water another area, and it may go from 10,000 to 20 to 30,000 pretty quickly if you're not in the right spot.
Right, and that's goes along with, if it was my piece of land, I want to get off the road. That's, the further you get off the road, like you said, the more it's going to cost. We don't know what that increment is, but it's going to cost more money, and that's something you have to budget for.
Right, and sometimes it's better just to drill a water well, and then you don't have to worry about that. So you need to know what companies do water wells and who does the best. You don't want to just hire someone who comes out and is used to drilling 400-foot water wells. Well, you're in an area now that you have to drill a 700-foot water well. Pipe and cement get expensive.
Okay, and then, when we talk about utilities too, you're all internet. How are you going to get internet? Is it going to be through a cable, through a satellite? Rural's not going to have fiber optic.
No, a lot of times you're going to have to use Hughes internet. Some areas will still have like people's telephone. They'll bring you a telephone line, and then you can use internet off of that. Sometimes just talk to your neighbors. Talk to the neighbors out there to see who they use.
Yeah. Now, and that's the satellite internet's getting better. I mean, don't let that mess the deal up. Elon Musk is continuously throwing satellites up into space. And we're going to have a better internet system for rural application, and it won't be long.
And a lot of those companies are bringing fiber. I think that was part of one of the bills that Trump did to get people their money, was also put a fund in to get fiber out to rural areas. People have found out that you don't have to live in Dallas and Houston anymore on top of each other. You can work from online. So why live for $500,000 on half an acre, or live on 10 acres and build a home? Your kids can ride a bike and go plant a tree. It's a lot different.
Yeah. Gotchas. You found this, and you mentioned it before, how you're going to access water. There's probably, you can be in rural areas where you have a homeowners association, or that's setbacks, but that's more of it doesn't have to be in the city, but it can still be governed by a city ordinance that you'll have some things you'll have to consider.
Right, and some of those HOAs is what we call them for short, homeowner association. If you get 10 acres in what is developed property in the country, you're going to want to know what the monthly bill is for that to maintain the road, who maintains the road. You may have a nice, what looks like a county road, which is a private road one day, but after all the trucks run up and down building new homes, you've got holes in the ground. Who pays for that? You're going to want to know where that money goes and who takes care of that money if you're moving into an HOA developed area.
What about cell phone service?
I use Verizon. It's a little bit more expensive, but it works pretty much everywhere.
Does it? Doesn't work at my house.
Really. I had AT&T, and I had a 3-foot circle that I could stand in and talk on the phone. Once I got outside of that, it was gone. 4 bars to 0. But that's another thing. You check with your neighbors on what service they use. And you pull up, knock on a door, or pick up the phone and call them.
Is insurance higher in a rural area?
It depends. Kind of depends on where they're going to get water. The biggest thing is a fire.
Fire department.
How far are you from a fire department? How long does it take to get a fire truck to your house to put a fire out?
Of course, and if you have a pond, if they can suck water from a pond. They don't necessarily, they can come in empty.
But not necessarily. Insurance is
insurance is insurance.
Yeah, that's right. But that's the main ding on insurance, where they're going to get water to put a fire out.
Okay, we're kind of jumping around a bit. What does a title company do?
The title company is going to basically run title back for at least 30 years. Some of them go back all the way to sovereignty. They're going to check every owner to make sure, you know, this person and this person signed the deed to go to this person. Mm-hmm. There's no one has a claim to your tract. So if you buy that property and build a home on it, you didn't just build a home and you're 90% owner and somebody else owns 10%.
Yeah.
That you're either going to have to go get a judgment or.
So you're going to own fee simple, 100% title, and not an undivided interest, which, you know, like you said, you're only going to own a percentage of that. You're going to make sure that you're going to own 100% of it, and the title company's going to do that.
They do that, and they know if there are easements they come across. Mm-hmm. They don't guarantee there's no easements, but they will do a quick check to say, hey, here are the easements that are filed within that time frame. Now,
what the title company does is they run surface ownership. They don't do any mineral ownership, and if that bothers you, that you don't own any minerals, and in Texas you're probably not going to, no matter where you are, you're not going to acquire any minerals. That was split up even before 1930s. People started reserving minerals in deeds, warranty deeds. So if that bothers you, then you need to do your own extra research. Hire a landman. If you want to do that, hire a landman to do a mineral research.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay. What else we got, Dana?
Pretty much electric utilities, water utilities. If you're looking for a piece of property and you need to make sure if you don't have road front or you don't have utilities right there at the road and you have an easement, a utility company won't bring you water or electricity across somebody else's property, even though you have the right to travel across that property. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get those easements taken care of before you purchase that land, or you might be sitting on 10, 20 acres and not have access to water. They don't have to give you an easement for water or electricity.
Yeah, really, we're Texas folks, and this really applies to everyone. I mean, any state. I mean, this is going to apply to everyone. What are the steps? You know, let's say, all right, I found this land, you found it for me, and I want to present an offer. You know, they're wanting $10,000 an acre. What do we do?
Well, we sit down, we draw up a contract. We need to know if you're doing cash. We need to know if you're getting a loan. If you're getting a loan, you want to know how much money you have to put down, because a lot of times with a rural property, you've got to put down 20%. There are a couple places that will accept 10%. Or if you're a veteran, you can do a VA loan, and you may not have to put anything down in that case. But you want to get pre-approved before making an offer. If I own 20 acres and I'm selling it for $10,000 an acre, I'm not going to accept a contract from someone that's not pre-approved, that doesn't have proof of funds.
Yeah, you don't want to waste your time.
And 10 acres that's a hot area. Everyone wants 8 to 20 acres. So if you don't buy it from me today, someone else will buy it from me tomorrow, and they'll have proof of funds.
Right. Now, when you present an offer, you have to give some contingency money, and you don't have to do that 10 or 20%. That's just your down for your payment for your loan. You know, with the contract, you can submit $500,000 as good faith money that you're actually making an offer.
An earnest check. Yes.
Earnest check. Yeah.
Usually, they'll want 1%. So if you're buying a $100,000 property, you're going to put down 1%, which is $1,000, mm-hmm. Which is negotiable. You can always do less. A lot of times, what they really look for is this cash? Is this going to be a loan? If it's a loan, how much money are you putting down? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter to the seller, because they're getting a check from the title company, and they're going to get it for their full amount, even mm-hmm. though you're getting a loan from a bank or you're paying cash. The reason they like to see cash is because there are less outs. If I accept a contract for a loan, I have to get approved. Even though I'm pre-approved, doesn't mean I'm actually going to get approved. So if I don't get approved, then I have an out that says, hey, I don't have to buy this mm-hmm. because of this reason. If I'm paying cash, there are no more outs. It's, you have cash, you showed me you had cash, mm-hmm. this is yours, you buy it, or you lose your earnest money.
One of the things we're seeing now is those ugly windmills. To me, it's an environmental eyesore. can the prior owner reserve the water rights and wind rights? Is that a thing?
You can reserve anything. We call it, a bundle of sticks.
Yeah.
You're selling this bundle of sticks, but you say, well, I want to keep this, which is wind rights. I want to keep this, which are minerals. If you own 100%, you own from the core of the earth straight up through the atmosphere. So you can reserve air rights to where, and a lot of around the hospitals, they buy air rights from you, so helicopters can come in.
Yeah.
So you could reserve that, and then later, if a hospital ever came in, they do that. Airports, they buy air rights outside of what they actually own, so they can bring planes in.
Well, I appreciate you guys joining us today. Sorry we don't have our question. We're not hooked up to answer questions right now, but maybe next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.